Coming to you direct from Silencer Shop Studios, home of the Glass Case of Emotion.
SilencerShop.com, the easiest way to buy silencers online, period.
Stand by for education, enlightenment, enjoyment, and entertainment.
He's not here to talk about your feelings. He's not here to say what you want to hear. He's here to say what needs to be said.
Ladies and gentlemen and children of all ages, please welcome your host, the pimp hand of America, Professor Paul Markle.
And that's my cue to begin talking. Hey, what's up, freaks? It's the middle of the week. Are you surviving? You doing all right? Good. I'm glad to hear it. What are we going to talk about today? All kinds of things. We got a fighting fitness for you today because, well, that is our want and our desire. We're going to talk about teachers in Texas and armed teachers. We got a Brownells Bullet Point for you today. We got all kinds of stuff. And I want to thank you if you are currently listening to Student of the Gun for being out there and participating in the greatness and goodness that is Student of the Gun Radio, and welcome. If you're a brand new listener, I'm going to caution you. You will not get it all. You will not understand it all at the very beginning. No, you won't. You have to listen to Student of the Gun more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times before you start to get it. And if you don't speak, understand, or comprehend the use of sarcasm, you may have a difficult time listening to this show. Or if you don't understand sarcasm, you may find yourself either overly concerned or confused. So, I don't know what else to tell you, but yes. And believe it or not, I am an educated man. And I do know the definition of words, and both in the King's English and American English. I do. I understand those things. Oh, and I know about what's going on in Tejas, in Texas, por favor. But it's Wednesday, and because it's Wednesday, what we're going to do for you guys, we're going to do something that we do each and every week. And like I said, I know that there are many new listeners to Student of the Gun Radio. How do you know that, Paul? How could you possibly know that? Well, in the age of the internet, and we have these machines, and they hook up to Skynet, and Skynet tells us things like the increase in numbers of downloads, and the increase in numbers of listeners. And based upon that, I know I can make the educated guess and supposition that a whole bunch of you freaks and freakettes out there are listening to us for either the first time or second time, or you're new listeners. So welcome, and we're glad that you're here. Now, every Wednesday we do a fighting fitness segment brought to you by SWAT Fuel. And the reason we do it is because it is not enough to own guns. Student of the Gun, you're like, well, you're a student of the gun, man. Shouldn't you be talking about guns? Yeah, that's really pedestrian, and that would be really easy to just blah, 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 on and on about our favorite toys and hardware and sporting equipment. But the fact of the matter is, the gun is just simply an instrument. It is an instrument of liberty. It should be an instrument of liberty. And what wields the instrument of liberty? Well, a human being does. And because we want you to be the most effective and efficient wielder of instruments of liberty possible, we want you to have a stronger body and a sharper mind, and the two of them go together. And because of all that, well, we came up with the Fighting Fitness weekly segment every Wednesday, brought to you by SWAT Fuel. And with that, I will turn it over to my co-host, my producer, the man with the, he's got the Reynolds Strong starting strength hat on his head right now at this very moment in time, in addition to his super cool radio producer headphones. And Jarrad, what do you have to say about fighting fitness?
I have a lot to say about fighting fitness, and first I'm going to open it with our King Julian song.
Official.
Fantastic, big body out in the big Titanic, woman and nice, sweet, energetic, big body out in the big Titanic, woman and nice, sweet, fantastic, big body out in the big Titanic, woman and nice, sweet, fantastic, big body out in the big Titanic. I like to move it, I like to move it, I like to move it,
I always like watching the video over here because you got the animals dancing.
If you need to smile, it really, if you need to smile, if you're having one of those days, just go to the YouTube machine, go to the internet machine there, and type in Madagascar. I like to move it. Yeah.
Well, did you see the other one that somebody had sent us?
No.
Well, I found it, so I'm going to play it.
There's another one?
Yeah, there's another one. It's a cover of that song.
It's a cover. Oh.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
Is this like a bonus?
Yeah, it is a bonus, and there's an ad that I have to get through.
Oh, the kids
to get to this bonus.
Yeah, the kids today didn't know they were getting a bonus. You didn't know that, did you, kids? When you tuned in, you're like, man, this guy's giving me a bonus. I didn't even pay for it.
I like to move it. I like to move it. I like to move it.
You didn't hear this?
You like to move it. I like to move it. I like to move it. I like to move it. You like to move it. I like to move it. I like to move it. I like to move it. You like to move it. I like to move it. I like to move it. I like to move it. You like to move it. I like to move it. I like to move it. I like to move it. You like to move it. All girls all the world, original rock, stunt man on your face, man. I love all girls to move their body, and when you move your body, and move it nice, sweet.
Is that another Marilyn Manson cover?
Nope, that's by a dude named Leo. I'm bad with this name, so Moracchioli.
Okay. Leo M.
Yeah.
Leo M.
But yeah, somebody. Actually, I had a bunch of people send that to me. He's like, "Hey, can you play this one?"
Oh well,
and it
okay.
actually is. It is pretty good.
It's good. It's not good as original.
It's not original. No.
Not the original King Julian in the house.
So today's topic, I want to talk about how to get stronger, and I've talked about that before, but I'm going to get really specific today. And this is strictly for beginners, beginner level strength training, because I am still in that level. I'm still a beginner. And so I just want to tell you how I've been doing my stuff. I gave you the reporting on the numbers, how much they've grown over the past 3 months. But what have I been doing? How have I been doing it? And that's a question that I've gotten quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and answer it. And the answer is I start warming up with the bar itself, just 45 pounds. And then I move up. And I'll give you an example here. So if my working weight is 200 pounds on whatever lift I'm going to do, I'll start with 45-pound warm up and I'll do one set of 5. And then I'll move up incrementally, increasing the weight in equal increments until I get up to 200 pounds. So the next one after 45 pounds would be 85 pounds, and I do one set of 4. And then the next one will be 125 pounds with one set of 3. And then 165 pounds with one set of 2. And then that will be the completion of the warm-ups. And I'll move on to the working weight, which is right now it is 3 sets of 5, and I don't know if that'll change when I get outside of the beginner level. So the 200 pounds is the working weight, so I would do 3 sets of 5 with the 200 pounds. Now, a lot of people are stuck on I have to do sets of 10 with a little bit less weight. And the advice that I'm going to give you is that you need to increase the weight and lower the reps. That is how you build strength. So I gave you the little example today for 200 pounds. Now, if you have specific questions, if you would like me to break it down for you and give you a set list,
a set
you
list.
Want me to give you a set list, then with your working weight that you currently have, or maybe you don't have it yet and you would like to figure out how to find it, then you can just shoot me an email and I will either help you or I will connect you with somebody that can if I'm unable to do that. And my email is Jarrad, Jarrad, @studentofthegun.com.
Oh, you just did it there. All right, the set list. Hey, you think you're a rock star?
Yeah.
You think you're a rock star? Huh? No, actually, and remember, it's just like anything else in life. you're not going to be great when you begin, but you have to begin to be great. Right? Yes, you don't have to be great to begin, but you need to begin to be great. And wherever you happen to be, if all you can do is squat the bar, great. Great. That's your starting point, and we go from there. There's no shame in it, because the only person that you're really competing against is you. That's right. If you can improve you and defeat you and like beat your last goal, then you're doing good. Worry about becoming a better you. Don't worry about other people. Don't worry about what they're doing. Worry about you. Now, what we're going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to thank and acknowledge all the people that make this show possible, because I am going to, well, I have a strong suspicion, Jarrad, that I'm going to be highly opinionated in this episode, and that I'm going to have a lot to say about the main topic. What do you think? Do you think I will?
I don't quite think that you would be able to talk about this.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that now you don't know this because it hasn't happened yet, but I'm going to tell you that we've got some great sponsors, and we're going to be working with our great sponsors to, well, help you acquire and receive and achieve the goal of possessing a lot of the really cool stuff from our sponsors. So without further ado, thank you to our friends at Crossbreed Holsters, the makers of the Super Tuck Deluxe, the most comfortable inside of the waistband holster you're ever going to wear, beginning and end of sentence. And I'm going to tell you this, if you go to crossbreedholsters.com, you have options. You have right or left, you have this cant, you have that cant, you have cuts. Yeah, the cant, you can change yourself, but you get different holster cuts, the combat cut or what have you. If you really want to do yourself a favor, and I'm not kidding, now some of you guys are cheap mofos, and you're just going to be cheap regardless, but I'm going to tell you this. If you want to do yourself a favor, if you are absolutely serious about carrying a gun every day, not just sometimes or when I think I might need it or when I'm going to the gun shop so I can show it off, but like all the time, spend the extra money on the horsehide backing. Yes, I know it costs more. Guess what? You know why it costs more? Because it's worth it. It's funny how things work like that. But if you go to crossbreedholster.com, if you'll take one single piece of advice from me, it'll be spend the extra money on the horsehide backing. You will not regret it. And their customer service is second to none. Frog Lube, green, minty fresh. It is a bio-based firearms lubricant that will not harm your optics, your electronics, your ammunition, or the bore of your gun. Frog Lube, it's extreme. And you can get Frog Lube from froglube.com or your favorite local retailer, or you can get it from Brownells. Century Arms, the sweetest smelling arms maker in the U.S. of A. And I see a lot of you freaks and freakettes out there are availing yourself to the goodness that is the TP9 SF Elite. If you can get your hot little hands, if you can get your mitts and paws on a TP9 SF Elite, that is the compact version, that is the 15-round magazine version, if you can get your hands on that gun, I think you should do it. And you don't have to. You can walk around with anything in your holster if you want to. But the fact of the matter is that gun should be $100 more than it is. And you're like, whoa, quiet. Don't tell them to raise it. I'm telling you, the gun is worth easily $100 more than the price tag. And I'm not kidding you. You're going to wrap your mitts around that thing and you're going to think, wow, this is a what? This was made where? This is a high quality piece of gear here. Yeah, it actually is. And I'm telling you this, once your friends and neighbors find out, the most difficult thing is going to be finding them because everybody's going to buy them. So if you go into your favorite retailer and they have one on the shelf and you're like, well, I'll come back next week and get it. It may not be there next week. Give that guy $50 and say, hold this for me. Say, hey, if I give you $50, can I put this on layaway? And that's, well, you know what, Jarrad? That's the great thing about having a local gun shop that's run by people you can talk to, as opposed to just a gun sale factory. You know what I mean? These big outlets are like, no, we don't do that, everybody. You either buy it or you don't buy it. Get out of here. It's nice to have the local gun shop that's run by Mike or Matt or Jim or, Dave or whatever. The guy you walk in there like, hey, Dave, and he's like, hey, Paul, and he like knows you and you know him. That really is one of the values of having a local gun store. And if you don't have one, I feel bad for you. But if you're in there and Dave says, hey, man, did you see this we got this new Century gun? And you're like, oh, I can't give you a lot of money right now because I don't get paid for another 10 days. But if I give you $50, you hold that thing for me? There you go. And if he's a good dude, he will. If he's not, well, I don't know what to tell you. But check him out at centuryarms.com. Last but certainly not least in the hit parade of people who make this show happen is Duracoat, the makers of the DuraBlue, the DuraMetal. They make the can technology. And the can technology allows you, you, I'm talking to you, you freak, you're like, I'd like to redo my gun, but I don't have an air compressor, and I don't have the special brushes and solvents and the hoses. I don't have all that stuff. You know what? I don't have that stuff either. But you know what I do have? I have a garage, and I can go out in the garage with the aerosol, the Duracoat aerosol, and I have to read the instructions because you have to do that. Now, if you don't have the ability to read instructions, pay someone to do it for you. But if you do, you can take your ugly gun and make it not ugly anymore. America, right? Exactly. All right, now, Jarrad, I see that you dropped a show note in right underneath my sponsor acknowledgments. Did you want to read that show note to the folks at home?
Kind of.
Question mark?
Yeah, I'll just say it.
Okay.
Grad program members, you need to reserve your seat for the class because I will be sending out basically the link to the public listeners this weekend. And
here's the deal. If it does sell out, what we're going to do is all the people that are interested, we're going to
open up another class.
Put your name in a hat.
Yeah.
And we'll draw you out one at a time. No, but seriously. Take advantage of the goodness that is Student of the Gun live training. You will not regret it. Not at all.
Attention, new listeners. We produced a free training video series called 7 Training Tips That Could Save Your Life. We want you to have access to this life-saving information. Get instant access now at studentofthegun.com. Do you watch Student of the Gun TV, read the blog, and follow us on Facebook? If you answered no to any of those questions, you are wrong, but you can easily fix yourself. Go to studentofthegun.com to find everything SOTG.
Hey, kids. Can you hear me? It's your host, Professor Paul Markle. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm in the studio, and I just dropped in a note in the show notes. And what we're going to do is we're going to see how fast my producer, Jarrad, can react to the note that I just dropped in there. Now, we've got a story coming to you from the Republic of Texas, and it's about teachers and armed teachers and where they are not allowed to have their guns. And it was a recent bill that went through the Texas State Senate. Now, as you may or may not know, if you're a dedicated listener to Student of the Gun Radio, we like to use a special theme song when we talk about Texas, but we haven't done it in quite a long time. Now, I know because I have that magic internet machine, that we have a whole lot of people listening to us in the glorious Republic of Texas. So, we like to share this with you when and if we can. Now, this is when I reach over there and I say, boom! Yes, indeed. That is Blackie Lawless and Wasp for all of you freaks out there who have no idea. All you young crumb crunchers that think Justin Bieber is the epitome of musical talent. All right, we got a story from BearingArms.com, and it was datelined May 11, 2017, a story by Rachel Lawrence, and it's titled, Texas State Senate passes bill to allow teachers to campus carry ... Sort of. Well, let's Let's dive in. Here we go. In a move that may either surprise, upset, or gladden individuals, the Texas State Senate voted 25-6 on Monday, this is a Monday before the 11th, to allow teachers and school employees to keep firearms in their parked vehicles on school campus. Proponents of Senate Bill 142 have argued that it is unreasonable to prevent educators and school staffers from keeping a secured firearm in their vehicle on campus. Currently, under Texas law, other individuals, such as parents dropping their children off at school or private sector employees hired to handle various issues at the school, can legally keep secured firearms in their vehicles on school campuses or campi. Essentially, being hired by the Texas school system is the only thing currently preventing teachers and those employed from exercising their right at work. Okay, here is the dealio, yo. I understand what the meaning behind this bill is. I get it, right? You get it, I get it, we all get it. It's that there's a provision in the law that says if you have a concealed carry permit or what have you, that you can legally have it secured in your vehicle, right? Unless, up to this point, you are a teacher, and then you are not allowed to have a gun, because we all know that a gun locked up in a car parked out in the parking lot is what? Is it a deterrent to crime? Does it encourage crime? What is it? What does it do? Well, essentially, it does nothing. And here's the thing. I understand the thought process behind this bill. I really do. I promise you, I understand that they probably thought they were doing something positive for the teachers. But here's an example of doing things almost or halfway or not quite getting it. Ladies and gentlemen and children of all ages, I know that there have been examples where a person has run to their car and retrieved a gun from the car and has confronted a bad person. I know that there are examples of that. And I'm sure that some of you out there in the audience can cite those. There was one classic famous, I think it was in Mississippi, Jarrad, where a teacher saw a kid walking into school with a gun and sprinted to his car and got his own gun out of his car and sprinted back and confronted the teen or whatever before he could mow down the entire school. And everyone's like, hey, see, there's a win for armed teachers. But unfortunately, the reality of the world is this. For every person that has successfully sprinted to their car to retrieve a firearm, there have been 10, 20, 100, 1,000 other incidents where people did not have the option to sprint to their car to retrieve a gun, but instead were trapped in a school, a movie theater, a church, a mall, you name it, and their car and their gun that was locked in their car might as well have been 1,000 miles away. It's kind of like if you have a no kidding G.I. Joe trauma kit, you've got a blowout kit with all the accoutrement in it, and you've got the training, you've got all that stuff, right? And the person who's bleeding to death is right there by your feet, and your super cool G.I. Joe blowout kit is locked in a rental car 200 yards away. It might as well be on the moon. And yes, that happened to me. And that's why we have the Pocket Lifesaver today. It was because I realized I had a gun on me, but I couldn't shoot the wound closed. If you're dealing with a life or death rapidly unfolding situation, having your life-saving tools, and it's like, okay, people are like, come on, you gun people, you just think everyone should have guns all the time, and guns aren't the answer, man. Guns aren't the answer. Love is. Peace, love, dope. Where do we keep fire extinguishers? Jarrad, where do we keep fire extinguishers? Do we keep them readily available in obvious spots, or do we lock them in the storage closet of the school in the basement?
Well, hopefully they're readily available.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you like, well, you know, we can't take a chance of someone stealing or misusing that fire extinguisher. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the janitor lock all the fire extinguishers up in the principal's office, and if we ever need one, then we'll run and sprint to the other side of the building. And
or better yet, put it in the car.
Yeah, I'm going to
lock it in the car.
Now, and you say, well, that's stupid, Paul. Nobody would ever do that. If you walked into a school and said, hey, we can't risk these fire extinguishers getting lost. We can't risk them being someone misusing them. What if someone, does something inappropriate with them? We can't risk it. We need to take all these fire extinguishers and we need to lock them up in the janitor's closet. And then if we need one, we'll send somebody to the janitor's closet to get them. And you would say what? What would you say to that? You'd say, that is the stupidest thing I've heard all day. You're a moron. Get away from me. And I'd say, why? And you'd say, well, because if there's a fire, we can't wait. We need to deal with it immediately. Because the longer we wait, the worse it's going to get. Did that just happen? You mean the longer you wait to address a deadly threat, the worse the situation will become? What? That right there, my friends, is crazy talk. You mean if you allow an active shooter situation to begin and unfold, that it will become worse and worse as opposed to better? Kind of like a fire? What? I got an idea. Let's say someone has a major hemorrhage, a major bleed. Now, you guys ever take shop class? You did. Congratulations. I took shop class. Metal shop, wood shop, plastic shop, whatever kind of shop, right? And what are they mandated by law to have in the shop class? First aid kit, right? Why? Well, because why don't they just keep it locked in the nurse's office on the second floor of the school? And you say, well, duh, because if someone gets hurt, we can't be running all the way to the nurse's office to get the first aid kit. It needs to be You mean the emergency survival gear needs to be right where the emergency's happening? So we wouldn't take fire extinguishers out of our kids' schools and lock them in the janitor's closet, would we? Well, no, that'd be stupid, Paul. Would you take the first aid kits and lock them up in the nurse's station on the other side of the school? We'd take those out of the shop class, out of wood shop, metal shop, auto shop. You'd take them out of there, right? No, that's stupid. They need to be where the problem could potentially happen. So here we are in our modern era where we have totally destroyed the moral fabric of our country. We have invited monsters, quite literal 7th century death cult monsters, into our country, and they have paid us back by murdering, slaughtering our neighbors, friends, relatives. That's what they've done. And so when I say that the people who are the first defense, the first line of defense for your children are their teachers, and that there are some teachers that could and should be trained, educated. I'm not just saying handing out guns at the morning coffee. I'm talking about responsible adults. You trust these people to drive your kids on a school bus, right? You trust them to chaperone them on field trips, right? You trust them that if the school starts on fire, that the teacher will run over, grab an extinguisher, and fight the fire so the kids can escape, right? Do you trust them to do that? Well, yeah. So you'd trust the teacher to grab a fire extinguisher and fight the fire so that the kids could safely escape from the school. You would do that. Yeah, I would. But you don't trust the teacher to go to a class, to be trained, educated, and to be equipped with the number one tool that you need to stop a psychopathic or multiple psychopathic killers. No, well, we don't. They have to lock their guns in the car because it's safer that way. It's not safer that way. And I pray that we never experience an American Beslin. And I'm also shocked as I sit here that it hasn't happened yet. And I don't know why it hasn't. They just haven't gotten their crap together. They're killing us in churches. They're killing us in malls. They're killing us in movie theaters. They're just slaughtering the Europeans like it's going out of style. And we haven't had an American Beslin yet. And if we do, listen to me. If we do have an American Beslin, and a lot of you out there, Jarrad, how many folks out there you think I say American Beslin and they don't know what the heck I'm talking about?
I think that our audience is pretty hip. But I think that there are a lot.
We have a broad audience, and I think there's a lot of them that. Here, I'm not going to explain it to you.
We probably do have a lot in our audience, yeah. Yeah,
we do. We have a lot in our audience, and BESLAN. When you're not listening to me, or push pause on this and go Google it or whatever you want to do. But there's only one thing that's going to be able to stop an American Beslin, and it's the first line of defense, and it's your kids' teachers. And if you don't trust your kids' teachers, then get them out of that school. Get them out. Well, I can't. Okay, well then what are our choices? And I understand, like I said, this thing in Texas, I'm glad that they clarified so that teachers don't become felons, de facto felons, for having their guns locked in their cars. But the fact of the matter is, guns locked in cars might as well be on the moon. Okay, it's not going to do you any good when there's multiple, one or more psychopaths with guns that are bent on slaughtering children. And your gun is in a car 100 yards away. It's not going to do you any good. No. And that's, like, we don't want to live in a world where teachers have to carry guns. I don't want to live in that world either. But here's the deal. Folks, we haven't done the heavy lifting yet. We haven't even come close to doing the heavy lifting. The reason that we live in a world that we have to have this conversation about armed teachers. When I was in elementary school, there were no conversations about armed teachers. When I was in high school, there were no conversations about armed teachers. That was not the world that we live in. You say, well, the world changes and the world... No, how did we get here? We got to this point because we became fat and happy and soft and weak. And we'd allowed it to happen. And the people whose job it was to protect the nation... That's their primary function in life. I'm not talking about the U.S. military because they only go where they're told to go, and they only do what they're told to do. I'm talking about the House, the Senate, and the President of the United States of America. Those people, as their sworn solemn duty, before everything else, before they create all kinds of entitlement programs and funding for this and funding for that and bridges to nowhere, before they do that, their number one task is to keep the people of the United States safe from foreign invaders. And they've done a piss-poor, crappy, negligent job. And we've allowed them to. We got so fat and happy, and we're so worried about our iPhones and our internet access and our Dancing with the Stars and every other ridiculous, stupid distraction that we've allowed foreign monsters to infiltrate our country. And they're here. I don't want to have conversations about armed teachers. No, I don't. But we have to, because this is the world that we built for ourselves. Yes, we built this world for ourselves, America. Oh, and Europe, I don't even know what to tell you guys. Sorry. You're just hosed 15 ways from Sunday. And France, you have no one to blame but yourselves. The very next death cult attack in France, I'm not changing my Facebook picture to a French flag overlay because you're begging for it. You're weak, you're spineless, and you make me want to vomit based on the recent elections. You put a centrist in charge. I don't even want to talk about it. Why do we have to talk about armed teachers in America today? Because we punted. We went on vacation as Americans. We checked out. And we just assumed that while we were checked out, being all fat and happy and self-absorbed, that the people in Washington, D.C. and our state capitals, that they were going to take it seriously and make sure that we were protected. Guess what? They didn't. They don't care because they can get more of you. Slaves and peasants are disposable, and we're always going to have them. And so that is why today in 2017 we're still continuing to have discussions about armed teachers and teachers, with guns on campus, where we didn't have to do that 20 years ago. We didn't have to do it 30 years ago. If you mentioned armed teachers 30 years ago, they'd have thought you were a lunatic. It was pointless. We didn't have school shootings. We didn't have 7th century death cultists running around our nation slaughtering our people in individual lone wolf attacks. Yeah. It wasn't happening. It didn't happen by itself. It didn't happen by accident. It happened because we got fat and lazy. We went on vacation. Now we're back from vacation, and the house is a mess. Somebody's going to have to do the heavy lifting, and someone's got to clean it up. And guess who it's going to have to be? Yeah, it's going to be you and I. Sorry to bring you down there. But I've got something to talk about. We've got a Brownells Bullet Point coming up for you here as soon as we cue up the shocking music, the shocking audio clip that we're going to play for you. I'm going to talk about long-range planning. Yes, that is the quite opposite of quiet time. That is Brownells Bullet Points official theme noise. It's not really music. Well, it could be music to your ears, depending on what you like to hear. But today I'm going to talk about long-range planning. And when I say long-range planning, I don't mean shooting bullets at 1,000 yards. What I mean by long-range planning is planning for training, hunting, gun-building projects, whatever. I fully understand that not everybody listening to me has a tremendous amount of disposable income. Now, you have a little bit more disposable income than you would have had because if you're listening to Thursday's show or Wednesday's show, is today Wednesday? Yes, it is, Wednesday's show, that it didn't cost you anything, and you're welcome. But when it comes to long-range planning, that's something that we're really bad at as Americans. And the reason that we're bad at long-range planning as Americans is because we've been spoiled for the last 30 or 40 years by instant everything. Instant coffee, microwaves, fast food, you name it, Amazon 2-day guaranteed delivery service. Every single day we are spoiled by on-demand everything. Heck, my show here that you're listening to right now is on demand. So you don't even have to wait. Every day you wake up and boom, it's right there and you can listen whenever you want. Morning, noon, night. But the fact of the matter is that as Americans, as American adults, we generally as a society are really bad. We do a crappy job at long-range planning. Because why? Well, because we have a 24-hour Walmart. I don't need to keep food in my house. I mean, if I run out, I just get in the car and drive to the store. It'll always be there, right? If I want something, I go on Amazon and I order it, and boom, 2 days later, it's at my doorstep. And that's nice, and it's convenient, but that really doesn't help you as a grown, mature, adult human being to plan for things. Now, when whether it's hunting, training, gun build projects, whatever it is, I want to kind of help you remember or realize the fact that not everything has to be immediate, and sometimes you need to sit down and say, what is important to me? For instance, if I'm going to be an armed citizen, right? I've decided that it is my responsibility as a citizen of the United States of America to be armed, to be an armed citizen. Correct? Correct. Very good. Now, I would love to have the brand new SIG Whatsits, or I would love to have the brand new Glock Whatsits, or the brand new Century Whatsits, or whatever. But it's out of my reach right now. So what do? Do I not buy it? Or do I get a gun that I can afford today and long-range plan to either replace it or get another or an additional or what have you? Am I taking training? Am I not taking training? Well, I can't get the training I want or I think I need in my hometown, so I'm just not going to do it. Well, are you not going to do it because it's not convenient to you? Or are you not going to do it because it's not important? There's a difference between convenience and importance. Well, and how many times do we substitute, or does something that we initially thought was important all of a sudden is no longer important because it's not convenient? Well, I can't get that immediately, so I just don't want it anymore. Well, I can't take that training class in my hometown. You know, I live in Pig Snort, Pennsylvania, or whatever it is, and well, if you're not going to come to my hometown of 4,000 people and teach your class, then your class must not be that good, and I'm not going to take it. Ask yourself, how many times has something seemed important to you, and it seemed like a good idea, until it became inconvenient, until you were going to have to travel, or it was going to take time. You were going to actually have to plan. You're going to have to engage in long-range planning to make something happen. You're like, oh, well, if I can't have it tomorrow, then forget it. I don't want it. This is gut check time. I know this is a student of the gun radio, but seriously, sometimes in order to get the important things, and sometimes in order to achieve what is important to achieve, we have to begin planning and take small steps until we get it all. Sometimes we can't get it all immediately. Sometimes it takes time. And as Americans, we become so accustomed to getting everything we want, whenever we want it, at any time of the day or night, that if we encounter a situation or that requires time and effort and planning, we just don't do it. So I'm going to ask you today, where are you in your journey? Whether it's as an armed citizen or trained citizen, prepared citizen, where are you? Do you have what you need to have? Are things important to you, or are you willing to take what's important and throw it away because it's not convenient? And you're like, oh man, you just made me think. I don't like that. I'm going to listen to someone else that doesn't make me think. Well, yeah. If you don't like me making you think, you probably should go somewhere else. But today's Brownells Bullet Point was this. Sometimes long-range planning is important, or it is required to achieve the things that are important in our lives. And just because something's not convenient doesn't mean it's not worthwhile or valuable. All right, cats and kittens and all the listeners in the Student of the Gun world and land and wherever you happen to be on planet Earth. Ooh, tomorrow. Thursday's a good day. This is the last public broadcast of the week, and tomorrow we're going to conduct the Liberty Test. Ooh, yeah. Let's see if you have the ability, if you're able to pass the Liberty Test. And I'm going to be administering this test. Ooh, if you want to cram for this exam, you should start now, because tomorrow, on Thursday's show, I'm going to be administering, Professor Paul is going to be administering the Liberty Test. So there you have it. You've been warned.
Get to studying.
Get to studying. All right. Until then, remember, you're a beginner once, a student for life.